My name is Joshua, and I never believed in luck, but it seems that this time, fortune decided to smile upon me with its dazzling grin. As part of my job, I got a cruise ship ticket that one could only dream of. Sun, sea, exotic islands, and all at the company's expense. Not just life, but a fairy tale. The first days of the trip flew by in an instant. I enjoyed every minute, forgetting about all my problems and worries. But as they say, nothing lasts forever under the moon. One morning, as I was lying on a lounge chair sipping a cocktail, my phone suddenly rang. It was my wife, Susan. "Honey, you won't believe it," she chattered at her usual speed. "Remember Mom's friend who was going on a cruise? Well, her friend canceled at the last moment due to health problems and gave the ticket to Mom. Can you imagine such a coincidence?" I nearly choked on my margarita. My mother-in-law Gloria here on this ship? It really is a small world. No, I had nothing against Gloria. She was always kind and friendly. But spending a vacation in the company of my mother-in-law was not exactly what I dreamed of. "That's wonderful, dear," I managed, trying to make my voice sound sincere. "I will definitely find her and say hello." Susan was delighted. She always said that Gloria and I communicated too little, and now we had a chance to correct this unfortunate misunderstanding. I sighed and went in search of my mother-in-law, mentally preparing for the inevitable. Finding Gloria was not so easy. The ship was huge, and I had already traversed several decks before noticing a familiar silhouette by the railing. Gloria stood looking out at the boundless ocean, the wind tousling her gray hair. She wore an elegant dress and a wide-brimmed hat, and I couldn't help but think that she looked stunning for her age. "Gloria!" I called out, approaching closer. "What a surprise!" She turned around, and her face reflected the same surprise that I myself was experiencing. "Joshua, what are you doing here?" I told her about the trip from work and about Susan's call. Gloria laughed, and her laughter sounded like chimes. "Well, what a coincidence! The world is indeed small. Well then, you'll have to endure my company for these few days." She winked at me, and I felt the tension gradually release. After all, what's wrong with spending time with my mother-in-law? Especially since we really rarely communicated genuinely. The next days passed surprisingly pleasantly. Gloria and I went on excursions together, dined in the ship's restaurants, and admired the sunsets. I learned a lot of new things about her. It turns out that in her youth, she dreamed of becoming an actress and even played in several performances. And she also adored traveling and had traveled half the world, from Europe to South America. One day our ship docked at a small, uninhabited island. We had an hour to enjoy the pristine beauty of nature before moving on. Gloria and I decided to take a walk along the shore, and I took my phone with me so as not to miss the departure time. We walked, engrossed in conversation, and did not notice how far we had moved away from the rest of the group. Gloria got tired, and we sat down on a large rock hidden behind a thicket of banana trees. I set an alarm on my phone so as not to be late for the ship, and we continued our conversation, enjoying the warm breeze and the rustle of leaves. I was the first to sound the alarm. The sun was already sinking towards the horizon, and my alarm had not gone off. I took out my phone and discovered with horror that it had died. How could this have happened? I had charged it in the evening. "Gloria, I think we have a problem," I said, trying to stay calm. "My phone is dead, and we have no more than 10 minutes until departure." Gloria turned pale. She, too, had not taken her phone with her, relying on my punctuality. We jumped up and ran to the shore, but it was too late. The ship, gleaming with lights, was moving away into the ocean, leaving us alone on the deserted beach. We shouted, waved our hands, but the ship was too far away. No one heard us. And now we were left alone on an uninhabited island, without food, water, or communication. Only now did the full horror of the situation begin to dawn on me. "What now?" Gloria asked in a trembling voice. "What are we going to do, Joshua?" I tried to pull myself together. After all, I'm a man, and I have to take care of both of us. "It's okay," I said with feigned cheerfulness. "Surely they'll soon notice that we're missing on the ship and come back for us. We just need to wait and not panic." But hours passed, and help did not come. We sat on the shore, hugging our knees, and looked at the horizon where our ship had long since disappeared. Night fell on the island, and it got cold. Gloria pressed against me, shivering all over, and I hugged her, trying to keep her warm. So we sat until dawn, and I realized that we could not count on anyone. If we wanted to survive, we had to act on our own. The first thing we decided to do was explore the island. It turned out to be quite small, only a few kilometers in length and width, but there was fresh water, fruit, and even some edible roots that Gloria managed to find. Back in her youth, she was fond of botany, and now remembered everything she knew about tropical plants. We built a kind of temporary hut out of palm leaves and made a fire to keep us warm at night. It was nothing like the comfortable cruise ship, but there was no choice. During the day, we collected food and came up with ways to attract the attention of potential rescuers. I laid out a huge SOS message on the shore out of stones, and Gloria wove a kind of flag out of bright colors and leaves. But days passed, and help did not come. It seemed that everyone had forgotten about us. We tried not to despair and support each other. In the evenings, we sat by the fire and talked about everything in the world. I told Gloria about my work, my plans for the future, about how I met Susan, and she shared memories of her turbulent youth, her late husband, her dreams and disappointments. Gradually, I began to notice that my attitude towards Gloria was changing. Before, I saw her only as a mother-in-law, my wife's mother, but now I was getting to know her as a person, strong, wise, with a rich life experience, and at the same time so fragile and vulnerable. One day, when we were sitting next to each other on the sand, admiring the sunset, Gloria suddenly turned to me and said, "You know, Josh, despite all the circumstances, I'm glad I'm stuck here with you. You are a good person and a real man." It had been 3 months since we found ourselves on this island. We had long since lost hope of rescue and resigned ourselves to the idea that we would spend the rest of our days here. And you know what? It's not as bad as it might seem. Gloria and I built ourselves a real treehouse, furnished it as best we could with our strength and capabilities. We had everything we needed: food, water, a roof over our heads, and most importantly, we had each other. I never thought I could be happy away from civilization, without the comforts I was used to. But it turned out that it takes very little to be happy: love, understanding, and harmony with oneself and the world around. Of course, thoughts of Susan and my former life didn't go away. I often thought of my wife, imagining how she was doing without me, whether she believed I was still alive. But these thoughts no longer caused as much pain as before. I had come to terms with the fact that my fate was to be here, with Gloria, and I was grateful for every moment spent with her. And with each passing day on this island, something imperceptibly changed in our relationship. We became closer, warmer towards each other. And I found myself thinking that I no longer yearned so much to return to civilization. Here on this island, away from the hustle and bustle and obligations, I felt free and happy. And then something happened that I subconsciously feared, and at the same time secretly desired. One night I woke up to a strange noise and saw Gloria sitting by the fire, sobbing and wiping away tears. I went over to her and hugged her shoulders, trying to comfort her. And suddenly she clung to me with her whole body, wrapped her arms around my neck, and kissed me on the lips, and then said, "You know, Joshua, we probably shouldn't hope that they will find us and return us to civilization. The rescue of drowning people is the work of the drowning people themselves. We should have accepted the situation long ago and take everything as it is. Moreover, during this time, I realize that I have feelings for you stronger than just for a son-in-law. I don't know what you feel, and whether it's mutual, but it seems that I have fallen in love with you." It was like a lightning strike. For a moment I froze, not believing in the reality of what was happening, and then I returned the kiss with all the passion that had accumulated in me over these days. We kissed like crazy, tearing off each other's clothes, exploring every inch of skin with our hands and lips. That night, we made love by the dying fire, on the soft sand, to the rustle of waves and the cries of night birds. In the morning I woke up first and looked at the sleeping Gloria for a long time. At her tousled hair and sensual lips, I realized that I regretted nothing. It was stronger than me, stronger than my old principles and beliefs. I was resolutely ready to start life anew on this deserted scrap of land. And now Gloria was the woman I wanted to love and protect from various adversities. From that day on, everything changed. Gloria and I were no longer just companions in misfortune, but real lovers. We made love every night and could not get enough of each other. Our bodies fit together perfectly, as if they were created to merge into one. I discovered new facets in Gloria, a passionate, sensual woman who knew how to give pleasure. And she said that I had awakened in her something that she thought had long since died, the ability to love and be loved. But life is unpredictable, and fate loves to present surprises. One day, Gloria and I were sitting on the beach as usual, and suddenly she screamed and jumped to her feet. I followed her gaze and saw a white dot on the horizon that was rapidly approaching. It was a ship, a real ship. We started jumping, shouting and waving our hands, and soon it became clear that we had been noticed. Half an hour later, we were standing on the deck, surrounded by astonished rescuers and medics. It turned out that all this time they had been looking for us, but without success. The island was too small and inconspicuous, and only a helicopter flying by chance noticed our signals and called for help. We were brought home, and I will not describe our reunion with Susan and other relatives. There were tears, hugs, and endless questions. Of course, we did not tell the whole truth about what happened on the island. The official version was that we simply supported each other and fought for survival, nothing more. Life gradually returned to its usual routine. Work, home, family concerns, everything that I once missed so much now seemed strange and unfamiliar. I often caught myself thinking that I missed the island, our simple and free life there, and Gloria, of course. We tried to behave as if nothing had happened, to portray the usual relationship of a son-in-law and mother-in-law, but as soon as our eyes met, I felt this electricity again, this invisible connection between us. And I knew that Gloria felt the same. One day I went into the kitchen and found her there alone. She stood by the window, thoughtfully looking out into the street, and there were tears in her eyes. I approached and hugged her from behind, burying my nose in the top of her head. "I miss it, Josh," she said quietly. "I miss those days, our island. It was the happiest time of my life." "I miss it too," I replied, hugging her tighter. "But we have to move on. We have families, responsibilities. We can't just throw everything away." "I know, but I will always remember what we had between us, and I will always love you, Josh." "And I you, Gloria, always." We stood there embracing and said nothing. And then Gloria gently pulled away, wiped away her tears, and smiled. "Okay, enough of this sentimental stuff. I'm going to go cook us all dinner. Susan will be home from work soon. We need to set the table." And she went to the kitchen, humming some tune. And I watched her go and thought that life is a strange thing. You never know what surprises it will bring and how it will turn out. That island taught me one thing: to cherish every moment of happiness, and to be grateful for everything you have. What happened on the island stays on the island. Gloria and I keep our secret in our hearts, but we live on. After all, life goes on no matter what happens. And who knows, maybe someday fate will bring us together again. But for now, I have memories, and they will always be with me, no matter how far I am from that piece of land in the middle of the ocean where I found true love. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.